All right, good morning, everybody. I wanted to go over some stuff that I talked about in class, but I wanted to do it a different way, slightly different way. I wanted to review what I talked about how to write a program and how to create a structure or a template or some framework stuff using the things that we talked about in class. And I wanted to go over it a little bit different way, something that's a little bit more clear. And so what I did is I went ahead and I filled out some of these categories. And if you remember in the class, I had a tab under here under Excel, exercise menu, my load and volume, and my full body structure. And so what I did, I went ahead and I filled out some of this so that it would make a little bit more sense, and maybe you could see where my mind goes and where my vision goes when I'm trying to design a program. And so you have the categories: upper body push, lower body, upper body push horizontal, a push pull horizontal, push vertical, pull vertical. So push pull, both horizontal and vertical. You have pushing and pulling, and these are just other categories where they don't seem to fit into horizontal or vertical. So you have a straight arm lat pull down, if you're familiar with that. You have an upright row, which is a vertical pull, but it's not really an overhead pull. It's a pull, but it's not really a pull down. It's a pull up. You have incline benching, incline bench presses of various sorts. You have cable flies and presses, which aren't really presses. They're just different, you know. Um, we have supplemental work. Supplemental work I think of as isolation work. You do barbell curls, tricep work, deltoid raises. So let's call those dumbbell lateral raises or dumbbell rear raises. You also have rotator cuff work in here. That's also very important. There's many different types of things you can do. You can do scapula stability work, all sorts of things you want to do. So that these categories are they're pretty flexible, but um, when you decide to create your own categories, you can create them in any way. You can absolutely create them in any way, as long as it works for you. Remember, the structure and the frameworks, you have to have some sort of exercise menu to know what do you know, and then you can put that on paper. And also think about this. So when you look at my horizontal bench pressing stuff over here, um, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Hopefully, hopefully that's easier to see. There's a lot of bench press: barbell bench press, dumbbell bench press, dumbbell one arm bench press, and then I have push-ups, regular push-ups, weighted push-ups, and then I just added in push-up variations for some to simplify. There are so many variations you can do. Add them in however you want. But when I start writing programs, what I find is that in my list of exercises, there are so many exercises, but my go-tos end up being my go-tos. Remember, there was a slide that showed the Pareto principle. 80% of your results are gonna come from 20% of of your efforts. And what you see in here on this slide on this sheet, that's about probably my 20%. That's probably the 20% of the stuff. And really, when you put it on paper, it's really the 20%. This is probably more like 40% or 30%. So there's a lot of variation simply by changing the implement. When you have a row, you have bent over rows, one arm rows. You have cable seater row, which is a double arm row, and then a single arm row. Body weight version, a TRX inverted row, and then a single arm version of that. This one, by the way, is pretty hard. Um, so if you keep going through, you're gonna see the overall trends in exercises. All right. Um, and then when you go to lower body pushing, this is more of a squatting dominant type of exercise. Back squat, front squat with barbells, trap bar deadlift. That's kind of a hybrid exercise. It could be considered a pull or a push the way you coach it. I consider it a push because my focus is pressure, foot pressure on the ground, and I'm pressing into the ground, so it's a push exercise. to me. I'm doing a split squat, a rear foot elevated split squat, or a Bulgarian split squat. You can do that with a barbell. You can do that with a dumbbell. You can do that with one dumbbell. And there's so many different variations. Um, Step ups with dumbbells, and then you can change the height on the step up box that you're using. I'm gonna do a front squat with kettlebells. Also a variation, a goblet squat. That's a one kettlebell version. You can do a pistol squat. That's your single leg version. So I have two single leg exercises in my lower body push category. There are more, but just for the sake of this uh, talk, I'm only putting two in there. And then my hip dominant pulls. Hip dominant mostly, I should actually change this, but hip dominant mostly. Trap bar deadlift is kind of a squat. We talked about that. A Romanian deadlift is primarily a hip hinge. You do that barbell or dumbbells, and then you can do that on one foot. You can do that on one foot, and that's a single leg hip hinge exercise. All good things. All right, and then we have different ones. Either more of the body weight exercises, back extensions, where you find that machine that you hook your legs in, and then you swing your upper body up and down. You have the opposite where you grab onto a table face down, and then you swing your legs up and down, and you use weights for that. We have leg curls. So I kind of lied. It's not all hip dominant, but these are two knee dominant exercises. So leg curls, hamstring curls with a ball, and then body weight. We have lower body, other exercises, lunges of various sorts, step ups, slide board exercises. You can fit anything you want to those. And my triple extension exercises, for the sake of the class, we're doing cleans, Olympic lifting, power clean, power snatch, squat jumps, trap bar squat jumps, different variations of that. You can even add hang power clean and hang power snatch. Now, the reason if I'm going to say what are my go-tos, I'm probably, in terms of effort and intensity, it probably looks a little more like this, in this order. Power cleans are the most intensive. You can add the most weight on. Now, all things considered, if you are technically proficient in everything you're doing, this is the exercise I'd probably start with, and then move to a power snatch, and then to a close grip power snatch, which is a shoulder width one, and then hang cleans because they're lighter, inherently lighter because you can't go from the floor, and then you go to squat jumps and body weight exercises. Core, sagittal plane, transverse. We talked about those. You have static and dynamic. So these are the main categories that I have for the exercise menu. Now let's take a look at our load and volume menu. I modified this from class. I'm hoping that this would make more sense. This is the easier part though. You have hypertrophy. You have lots of different ways you can do hypertrophy work. As long as you're staying within the 6 to 12 rep range, you can be really creative with the number of sets and reps and the intensity that you're putting in. All right. And when you get to your strength work, this becomes a little more difficult, but it's also a little more straightforward. You're doing stuff above 70%, and you're going all the way to 95, all the way to 100% for strength work, real strength work. And it has a pretty wide range of reps and sets. 4 sets of 6, that's pretty straightforward. You have 3 sets of 6, 6 sets of 4, 5 sets of 5. 5 sets of 5 is a tried and true one, and that just means you put on the same weight and you do the same weight 5 sets of 5. And it does not include warm-up sets. So this does not necessarily mean you're warming up. Let me start over. What I have written out here, you have to warm up prior to getting to your 5 sets of 5. However, you could still do 5 sets of 5 and still have warm-up sets. It could be something that looks like 60%, 70%, 80%, 85%, and 85%, something as simple as that. And some of this stuff, some of the reps and sets for strength, you're going to see they go pretty high at 10 sets of 1. It really could be a maximal strength percentage, but that's going to start with a very low percentage, go all the way up to who knows how high you can go. Similar to maximal strength, try to write up percentages so you can see, hey, we might start with 60%, then go 70, 80, 85, and 90. That would be a full workout right there. But it could also look like this: 60, 70, 80, 85, 90, then 92, then 94, 90 again, and then 92, 94. You can really take it however way you want. So I find it important to, for me, to write out my warm-up sets in addition to the actual intensity I'm trying to do things. If you're doing this project, I would keep it very, very, very simple. Look at the charts for your reps and sets, and just go straight off of that. That's something that's easy to do. So if you say, hey, are you going to do hypertrophy? Just say 3 sets of 10, and what percentage? 70%. And that's an easy way to say, hey, are you touching on more or less the correct percentage, and are you in the right range for hypertrophy? If you said, I'm doing 3 sets of 10 and I want it at 85%, I would take a look at my training load chart, which is in your book, and I'd say, well, at 85%, you should only theoretically be able to do 6 reps with 85%. So you cannot do 3 sets of 10 at 85%. So that's not correct. Okay. So keep that in mind when you write your programs. I hope that part helps. Okay, here I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to make another video, and we're going to go right into the 3-day full body structure, and we're going to design a program for you. And so I hope this made more sense. I hope it's clear. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to email me, and I will try to answer you as quick as I can. Okay, thanks.